Hey everyone, I'm Deeg. This is Deeg Thoughts. Here today to talk about Guild Wars 2 and its recent story release entitled Icebird Saga Champions Judgment. Judgment is the fourth and final release of the Icebird Saga Champions and closes out a saga encompassing almost 2 years of content for Guild Wars 2. I played it on Tuesday last week, and I'm going to share my thoughts with it. Actually, let's say that more accurately. I'm going to process my thoughts about it, because I would be lying to you if I told you that I was totally certain of my conclusions about the story, about the state of the game, about where we've come from and where we're going. But I want to get a conversation going, and we can all work on it together. On April 27th, 2021, ArenaNet released a game update for Guild Wars 2, Icebird Saga Champions Judgment, where we were promised a final, definitive standoff. And it looked something like this. So did we killed the dragons? Oh man. I knew this was going to be quick. But I didn't know it was going to be this quick. I knew it was going to be quick. I didn't know it was going to be this quick. That's literally what I said on stream when I was working through this. The dragons destroyed Jormag and Primordus. Let's watch that one more time. Actually, it's kind of a badass cinematic. The end of 2 of Guild Wars 2's 6 Elder Dragons, a threat teased for over 10 years. Boom. Pretty badass. So now let's go back and talk about dragons. So let's share some initial kind of thoughts here. I don't really know how this argument is going to build. I have a less clear through line for this discussion than I'd have had in the past. But I think that what would be useful to attempt would be to actually try to look through and see how Guild Wars has delivered its dragon story over the last decade. And what I have here is a series of videos that's going to show us how the setups and reminders and some of the payoffs were delivered for the Elder Dragon threat in Guild Wars 2. Going all the way back to Guild Wars 1. This is the ending cinematic of the Guild Wars 1 Eye of the North, the fourth and final expansion for Guild Wars 1. This expansion, when it came out, represented a pivot away from Guild Wars 1 towards a future product to be named later, which would be Guild Wars 2. You see, ArenaNet, at the time, developed themselves into a corner with Guild Wars 1 and felt that continuing development on that particular product was infeasible. And they would be in a better spot if they reinvented Guild Wars into a new game. So they changed the last expansion to do the job of introducing the races of Tyria that we would all get to play in Guild Wars 2. The Char, the Norn, and the Asura. And the main threat of the entire Eye of the North expansion was the champion of the Elder Dragon, Primordus, the Elder Dragon of Fire. And here is that ending cinematic. The Great Destroyer.
When was right. With the death of their master, the destroyers lost their coordination.
This song gets me so hyped.
Chalice and his dwarves pursued them into the depths of the earth. Legends were born that day. And while this threat was ended, the legends would continue. In the years to come, new threats would arise in Tyria. New creatures would stir.
The Sylvari.
New sacrifices would be made.
Ah, the Scepter of Ore.
And the greatest threat of all was yet to come. A threat that would consume the entire world. And call upon the greatest of heroes. The children of the legends.
Oh. So good. I never finished Eye of the North. It's the only Guild Wars expansion I've never finished. I'm gonna go back and do it sometime soon. That music, that whole like momentum, it felt so good. And one of the things that ArenaNet has done a pretty good job of over the years is actually making sure we're pumped about what's next for them. I'm gonna show a few examples as we go forward, but this was the introduction, in many ways, of Primordus. Here he is. This is him. This is the Elder Dragon of Fire. You'll notice he looks a little different in this game. Well, to be honest with you, I prefer the Guild Wars 2 interpretation. But a sleeping dragon who will awake to shake the world. Let's hear what else Guild Wars and ArenaNet told us about the Elder Dragons in the lead up to Guild Wars 2. This is going to be a lot of great nerdgasms coming up. Kai, that dragon we just saw, was the one that died in the cinematic I showed you in the release that came out last week. This is the Guild Wars 2 teaser trailer. Check this shit out. Came out back in 2009, which would have been 2 years after Eye of the North came out, I think. And 3 years before Guild Wars 2 came out.
Tyria. The dragons have always been here. Sleeping deep beneath the earth. Beneath the sea. Waiting for the time to rise.
The very first thing in the teaser trailer, Tyria dragons. From the very beginning, laying that foundation, painting that critical texture. The dragons in Tyria are connected. This trailer is so good.
100 years ago, the drowned empire of Or rose from the sea at a dragon's command. A dragon whose name is written in the legends of the dwarves. A dragon known as Zhaitan. His soulless army surged from the waters, hungry for destruction. Our ancestors fought against the tide.
Everything here, talking about the heroes of Tyria, only makes sense because of the threat of the dragons.
But Zhaitan's power was too great. We have learned from those defeats. We learned that no single nation can fight alone and succeed. The 5 races must stand together against their enemies and refuse to surrender. Heroes come together in glory, discovering new magic, new technology that will save our world. It is time for legends to become real.
Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. Yeah, Kai, that's right. All Jeremy sold this early on. I'm gonna play this out, y'all. It's too good. Dragon! No, this is one of the many scenes in this trailer that doesn't appear anywhere in the game. 3 years before the game came out, things changed.
Now is the time. Claim your destiny. Forge your legend.
That's powerful. Fuck. Oh, sometimes it's good to go back and remind ourselves what the vision was, what it is, and pre-order now. Exactly, guy. So that's the teaser trailer for Guild Wars 2. An MMORPG fantasy set in the world of Guild Wars, but 250 years after the events of Guild Wars 1. Or is it 150? Either way. A century or two later, let's put it that way. And a pivot, because Guild Wars 1 had pretty cool storytelling too, and pretty cool, I think, villains, and a lot of interesting... A lot of the storytelling in Guild Wars 1 was all about the humans and their gods. And one of the main conceits about the change from Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 is we became more pluralistic. We went from being a game about humans to a game about humans, Norns, Asura, Char, and Sylvari. And we went from a game about the god, contending with the gods, to the gods fleeing Tyria for mysterious reasons, and being a game about the Elder Dragons, which have been built up as this incredible, amazing, textured threat. These eldritch forces of cosmic importance as we're going to learn, I'm going to take us through a little journey about how the dragons were shown to us throughout the game. And I'm going to have to skip ahead a little bit here because I don't have any good video to talk about the personal story. So I'll briefly just talk through it. So the Guild Wars 2's release campaign, which you can still play today, is called the personal story. And what its job is to move you through the 80 levels of the game up to the end game, up to end game. And what it does is it takes you on a story arc where you start solving regional problems that are relevant to the race that you start as. Over time, every single character you play will eventually get to this point where the purpose of your character is to go up against and take down Zhaitan, who is terrorizing Tyria and fucking stuff up. So, this personal story does a really good job of building up Zhaitan as a threat. You go through multiple zones of ore, a subcontinent that sunk into the ocean and was risen up with zombies and stuff all over it, and Zhaitan ruling over them all. And at the end, you go into the ruined city of Ara. You go into the capital city of the subcontinent to take on Zhaitan's top lieutenants, champions, and then the dragon himself. And I'm going to show you the best video I have introducing Zhaitan, which is some content from Wooden Potatoes, who, if you know anything about Guild Wars 2, you no doubt know about. So, put yourself in the shoes of a furry char, a swole Norn, a leafy and light Sylvari, a stubborn human, or a genius Asura. And just imagine that you've taken on the troubles of your people. You've defeated them. You've joined a group of adventurers to take on the dragon threat. And you're going up against the dragon himself, Zhaitan, the Elder Dragon of Undeath. You've boarded an airship with high energy projectile weapons in hopes that you'll be able to take him out. And you're trying to find him over his ruined capital that was raised up off the ocean floor just 100 years ago. Let's see how that goes.
Big is coming.
What is that?
That's Zhaitan!
Look at the size of that thing.
Well, we don't get to finish our conversation because he's here. He's crashing the party. And we find Zhaitan. And he immediately smashes off the front of the ship. I feel like we're missing a part of gameplay immediately with that. I mean, Jesus, we hardly get to enjoy it. We don't get to press F and trigger this.
Stand aside. I have this.
Excuse me, this is a mist-cooled tripartite thothmatium energy.
Okay, so the Zhaitan fight. Zhaitan looks big pimpin' in this. He's so badass. And I also love hearing Wooden Potatoes pumped. One of the biggest pleasures of indulging in Guild Wars 2 content. But this Zhaitan fight is a little different than you might hope. Throughout the game, Guild Wars 2, it's a roughly a tab targeted fantasy MMO. You target enemies and you use your skills. And most of all the fighting you do in it requires you to use your skills. Now, to what degree? It's a question for later. But the way that you actually end up killing this dragon is a way that was disappointing to many people. Let's fast forward.
End of the fight to slay the Elder Dragon Zhaitan. That's our last objective of Victory or Death. You'll see he now has a health bar and it says use the airship's cannons to defeat him. So this is the final phase of the fight, and hopefully I can take a second now to finish everyone's dialogue. Check it out, Mr. Sparkle's actually interacting a lot here. Here's Logan, and once again has no dialogue for us. At the start of the dungeon...
Up till now, the way that we've engaged in this fight is we've dealt with all the monsters that he spawned on the ship with our combat abilities, and every once in a while we waltz over to the gun and we press the 1 key to shoot it. It's not aimed, it's not timed. All you do is press 1 to hurt the dragon.
It's good to have Logan back among the living for this fight. I'm happy that we mourned him prematurely. Yes, I think we all are. You guys are invincible. Hey, Garm. Garm looks excited to have everyone gathered together again. Ready to bite some dragon minions? And Keith, still with a quest marker. That's so weird. I think it's bugged in a weird way. I'm delighted to have Logan back, but our greatest battle lies ahead. Yeah, you're telling me we're in it. Still, this has to be a good sign, right? Nothing can stop Destiny's Edge now. It's great to be proven wrong, isn't it?
WP.
Logan always managed to surprise me. But
Talking
never
up a
so
storm while
pleasantly.
the world is ending.
Surprise, wasn't it? Nothing can stop Destiny's Edge now.
I
So
love
there
it.
you have it. Very nice. Now, there are more areas of the airship to explore, but we should really get on with the fight. So, how does this work? Well, there's a ton of cannons, you'll see. In fact, there's cannons on this wing that you will never use. Once again, I don't know, clearly something the devs were going to have but never ended up using. You're only going to use the cannons on this side, and you'll notice that there are, once again, 5, as if you have 5 players. I'm going to get on the very middle one, and you'll see here, you get a skill, Fire. You'll notice that this time, there is no targeting of Zhaitan. The entire fight, or almost the entire fight, okay, is to press this skill, Fire. And when we fire, it shoots these very cool-looking, you know, explosive projectiles that spray out and do a little bit of damage to Zhaitan each time. There's no aiming, there's no, like, trebuchet or catapult or hold down or charging up and stuff. It's just hit the boss, okay? The complication to that is that as you damage him, he will hit you with these new animations. Now, I think these were added after launch, to tell you the truth, but they're called Poison Explosion, Spray Poison. They try and knock you away. Also, Zhaitan will occasionally spawn enemies that will, you know, you might actually want to clean up and do some damage to. But largely speaking, the final fight is this. Now, once again, I will say it's very cinematic, and I'm celebrating Guild Wars 2, and I enjoy Guild Wars 2 very much, but it is obvious, for everything I've said here so far, that cinematography is the only thing this really has going for it. The devs were clearly crunched, and one of the most notorious, like, gone down in history failure points for this entire game, it has to be said, is what you're currently looking at. The fact that pre-release, they never had time to actually finish the final boss fight. What a limp way to end it, eh? Really sad, especially considering for all these years as we were waiting for this game to come out, the devs kept saying it will come out when it's ready, when it's ready, when it's ready. My actual honest opinion is I don't think the devs should have implemented any story after the Battle of Fort Trinity for the release game. I think all of the stuff after the Battle of Fort Trinity, all the ore arc, including this, should have been post-launch releases that they had time to work on fully. Because otherwise, we kind of get this weird compromise that is a bit of a disappointment, really. I mean, there you go. This is the final fight. Pressing 1 on a cannon. Doesn't matter what class you are or anything. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this animation here, which seems to trigger very rarely, maybe only when Zhaitan's on low health, which is a part of the fight you don't get to see very much of. But one of these tendrils, one of these mouths of his on his shoulder, comes right out near the cannons and sort of shouts a lot. What that's actually doing is summoning mobs. Now, this was definitely an update, I remember, in the patch notes sometime after launch. On this particular footage, you'll see after I've beaten the dragon himself, that animation was still rolling. And after the...
So, context. This is from a video, the 122nd part of a video series that Wooden Potatoes did covering the entire personal story of Guild Wars 2. A fantastic and exhaustive, let's put it that way, series of content that really memorializes or attempts to memorialize what is good about the personal story and the crazy ambition that it had to deliver different stories for every single type of character that wanted to roll up Interior and take on the dragons. You heard his central critique, and it really calls back to the grim reality of telling stories in video games. Is sometimes the game part of the storytelling overshadows the story itself. The fact that all the things that we learned as a character leveling up didn't actually have direct effect on our victory over Zhaitan. Rather, it was the ingenuity of others, the engineering of others, and our ability to show up and press a button on a cannon that took down the dragon. Now, it's a reduction of circumstances. Sure. Like, just getting to the point of being in the air with the dragon took a lot. And you as a player character drove a lot of that. But this is one of the main complaints about this particular dragon and the way its story is told. A lot of people think that we got cheated out of a better, more interesting, layered, and agency-filled fight against Zhaitan. One thing I really like, though, about the personal story is it gives us an epilogue.
Scene. One of the final cutscenes of the game.
Victory at last.
That's a payoff. It's definitely a payoff. Someone's got to press the button.
With Zhaitan
Amen to
defeated,
that.
The corruption it wrought can be undone. The dragon's undead minions that still infest Tyria will now gradually be exterminated. One day soon, that plague will be but a memory.
This
Look at
voice.
this. It's us with Destiny's Edge. It's us. Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. That's a cool looking char. Oh, and because Wooden Potatoes ran through this with a bunch of different characters, you're seeing each character that he ran through it with. I love the way he put these together. WP is so high quality. All right.
Courage, skill, and
So yeah, that's the end of the Zhaitan arc. I didn't show you all the build-up, but there was a lot. And it wasn't... The personal story has some issues. But developing Zhaitan as a threat was definitely something it did well. All right, Henry asks, why was the dragon so obsessed with that tower that it lets itself be shot with cannons? The idea is that you weakened it by shooting at it while it was flying around, and it kind of landed on the tower for purchase. Like, the idea is it's wounded. So before you can even line up those killing blows, the 30 or 40 killing blows, that you've already wounded it via the same way, which is just shooting that, pressing one in the cannon. They rub dragon catnip on it. Yeah, that too. That too. That definitely did happen. Dragon nip. Funny little epilogue. A little bonus. I want to show you guys. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is important. So, I'm trying to decide if this is actually relevant to this discussion or not. I'm going to say it is.
Yeah, he does look really cool. Yeah, he looks badass. Look at him over there.
All right. So this is not the only time that Wooden Potatoes killed Zhaitan on stream. Here's another attempt. He's playing the Ranger class, which is Guild Wars 2's take on the Hunter archetype. Hunter, Ranger, Woodsman, you know, the guy with a bow and a pet. The reason he's playing this class is because he has a pet who can do damage for him. And this is the end of a weekend of streaming where he took on the challenge of trying to beat Guild Wars 2's personal story without using a single skill. He didn't attack, he didn't heal, didn't use any signets, elite skills, anything. Didn't wield a weapon, didn't swing a weapon. He let his pet do all the work for him, which is less a comment on the power of pets and more a comment on what Guild Wars 2 asks from you in terms of ability to engage with its combat system and its story content. And it's a critique that lands, I think, accurately and is worth mentioning because as a video game and a narrative being delivered through a video game, not allowing your players to fail and not requiring them to engage with your systems, I think has one of the side effects of reducing the payload of the payoff. In fact, the one skill his character uses in the entire journey to kill Zhaitan over this weekend was the fire skill on the gun. It's the only skill that he used. He trained the pet how to press the cannon button. That would have been the true high IQ play. But anyway, video game storytelling is hard because you don't just have to tell the story, you also have to have a game that supports the story. And they reflect on each other, right? We all know this. Okay. Let's talk about the next dragon up. So, Guild Wars 2 has come out. It's 2012. You've taken on the personal story and the Zhaitan threat, and you've killed the Elder Dragon of the Undead by using the Asura cannons. Now, what's next? Well, Guild Wars 2 over the next couple years is going to meander down a path of developing a new threat. And it's going to do so through the lens of a character named Scarlet Briar. I didn't get to play during this time. I was actually living overseas without a gaming PC while all this was going on. And because of decisions that were made by ArenaNet, at the time, the original vision of Guild Wars was to have content that went into the game and left forever. So that people could feel like they were coming to an event and the world lived and it moved on. And suffice to say that that's not what they do anymore. But this is the end of Scarlet Briar, a character who is a villain that was developed over the course of these releases that went into the game and then left forever in Season 1 of Guild Wars 2, which began in 2013 and concluded in 2014. Yeah. This is Scarlet Briar and her end.
Just
And the setup
look at you.
of the next dragon.
All you heroes. And here, at the center, little old me. Aren't you even curious about why I did it? All this chaos and destruction?
She had motivation.
Doesn't matter now.
She wasn't the true threat.
You failed. Wrong. Tyria will bow before a new master.
No.
Who?
We'll
Who's the new
stand
master?
together against any enemy.
Yeah, we're Tyrians. We don't like getting pushed around.
So, what now? You big, strong heroes going to take me to jail?
Something like that.
Jory, be careful.
I'll do something, all right. I'll end this for good.
That's it. Come and get me, if you dare.
So for context, this building we're in is a monstrous drill, which is making progress
Bram,
towards a
talk
ley
to me.
line
Your leg.
under the city of Lion's Arch.
I know. I'll be okay. Go, get her.
What? Go? No,
You're trying to
I can't
stop
leave you
that
here
from
like
happening.
this. It's too dangerous. We have to get you out of here.
Go, Box. It's your chance to get in the warband. You have to.
I don't have to do anything. I'm not leaving you alone in such a vulnerable position.
Jory? Jory!
Character stakes?
Oh, sweet Duena, help her. She's not... You monster!
Finish Scarlet.
Get back!
There's an actual fight here, which I'm not going to show off. We're going to skip ahead to the successful fighting of Scarlet while she's laying there on the ground throwing bombs at us. Which looks like this. The drill succeeded. Hit the ley line. Ramifies out across the continent. What will happen? Who's the true master? Yeah, baby. Dragon number 2 has entered the scene. At this point, we don't know the name of this dragon. This is an early tease. But before we see this dragon become a true threat, over the course of Season 2, which took place in late 2014 to early 2015, we had to learn a bit more about it, and we entered something called Omad's Machine, which showed us something about the Elder Dragons that we didn't know before, and about the nature of the world of Tyria.
Do not question the dream. We must all play our parts.
Zhaitan dies. Energy goes everywhere. It's a warning. Killing dragons has consequences. Consequences that we'll soon learn about. In the first expansion to Guild Wars 2, Heart of Thorns.
I am this world. It is time to come home. All will serve the jungle dragon. We serve no one. Who dare stand against me?
Ooh, baby. Man, I love watching these. Is that Char wearing gamer glasses? Yeah. Yeah. He's a revenant and he doesn't need his eyes to see no more. It feels good to watch. A game trailer is a beautiful, beautiful thing. An announcement of beautiful intentions. So, Heart of Thorns, the first expansion to Guild Wars 2, came out in, was it October 2015? Yeah, that's right. And it came out at the end of a 9-month release drought. That was brutal. I didn't get to feel the brutality of this release drought because I only started playing Guild Wars 2 in February of that year and had plenty of time to progress through the entire game before the expansion came out. But this gap, this content drought, was an important learning moment for ArenaNet, and something they really didn't want to repeat again. I think just something to notate for the future. There's another video too that develops this threat a little further that I actually missed and should have shown before the Heart of Thorns trailer. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is it. Yeah, here we go. So this is similar to the video of Scarlet's death at the end of Season 1 that teased where the story was going. This is a cinematic that came at the end of Season 2, which happened just under a year later, like 7 or 8 months after the end of Season 1, which pointed again into where we were, the direction of the story. One of the things Arena has been really good about doing is always letting us know, like I said before, where we're going. And this is a fun cinematic, but it's kind of funny too. Make you think twice about attacking a jungle ever again. We just assembled the pact. The fleet is ready. We're finally ready to mobilize after months and months of effort and go into the jungle to take on the dragon that's been terrorizing towns and outposts throughout Central Tyria. What will we find there? We're armed. We're ready to fight. Pack Commander Traherne. Shoot the jungle. What could go wrong? Oh shit! These trees ain't playing! This is like an Empire Strikes Back moment. The heroes have fallen into tragedy. How can we go on from here? And if I'd done this in the right order, I would have played the Heart of Thorns trailer next, but I screwed that up. Treebeard at it again. Absolutely. Blast them trees. So the line from the trailer, "I am this world," tells you a little bit about Mordremoth. Mordremoth is the jungle dragon, and he literally, in many ways, is the jungle. He is the plant life. Like it's kind of vague about what that means exactly, but you could see him expressing his will through these vines coming out of the jungle from everywhere. You could see in the Heart of Thorns trailer that he made himself into a big like creature. He also commanded a wyvern and the smaller foe who Ritlock was fighting at the start. Makes you question who the good guys actually are. A good story does that. Again, we're building up Mordremoth. We're reminding ourselves, what's the threat? What's he about? Where we're going with it. This is ArenaNet's second take on trying to actually wrangle with these Elder Dragon threats, rather than deal with all these regional issues or problems that are living at the surface of the dragon threat. So Zhaitan, we talked about how that went. Let's see how round 2 goes. We're going into the jungle. This outline's way too big. I keep losing my spot. Okay. So I'm going to narrate a little bit about this because I don't have a video for it. You make your way into the jungle. You recover the forces. You reestablish a new beachhead, and figuratively, not literally. And you get your shit together and you formulate a plan of attack on the dragon. But the dragon is everywhere. How do you attack it? It's not really clear how to do this until you bumble in to an old friend suffering from a very tragic ailment.
Father, what has the dragon done to him?
Commander, the pact, is it
all but gone, brother?
There's Traherne,
But me and my
Pact
team
Marshal,
will finish this.
corrupted by the dragon.
It's too late?
I bump up the volume here.
I am part of the jungle dragon now. It is everywhere.
So how do we kill it? Burn every field and fell every forest?
No, it can't be defeated that way. It'll just grow back.
At this point, we don't have a clear idea of how to take on this dragon, other than knowing that one of the metaphysical areas of governance for Mordremoth is the mind. Mordremoth is a dragon of the mind.
Turn the tables and attack the dragon the same way it's been attacking us. Brilliant. You don't need a translator to understand that. The dragon doesn't like this idea.
Yes. Strike at the dragon's mind through the dream. It can work. And my connection will provide the access you need.
The Ratanovan said each Elder Dragon has a weak spot. We just identified Mordremoth's.
I'm ready. If I concentrate, I can open a path into the dream, into Mordremoth's mind. Your minds will make the journey, but your bodies will remain here in the cavern.
I've seen enough metaphysical landscapes lately. I'll stay behind to keep the Mordremoth at bay.
I'll stay too. If something goes wrong, or Traherne isn't what he seems to be, I'll be standing by.
All right. 3 of us go in. 3 stay behind.
While we are entering Mordremoth's mind through Rex and Shepherd realm, you got a real good point there, buddy. Strong vibes from Ritlock there. While this fight is going on inside the mind of the Elder Dragon, which we're somehow accessing via one of our friends who's been turned into a dragon minion, via means that are not clear, not well developed, not that super well explained, there's a fight going on against the body of the Elder Dragon, which takes place in the final map, the final zone of the Heart of Thorns region called Dragon's Stand. And this fight is incredible. Like, it's actually incredible. And the idea is supposed to be the Mouth of Mordremoth is being fought at the same time allies are fighting the mind.
And the rest, clear the area of hostiles.
Look at that thing. Like, Arena is seriously trying hard to realize the threat of dragons and give us a way to actually fight them. People went apeshit over this when it came out in 2015.
Stun the creature so your allies can bomb it from above.
So this dragon's, you have to try to attack it. It summons like these champions you have to defeat. If you don't do it damage to the mouth fast enough when it's attacking these platforms, it can destroy platforms altogether. And all this is after this event where you push your way through the jungle down these 3 lanes. And if you don't push all the way through successfully, you don't even get to this part of the zone. So this is clearly a step above what we saw with Zhaitan. They knew that they needed to do a better job of delivering this dragon payoff. That didn't go so well. That's pretty funny. All right. Anything else from here we want to show? You get to show off the main movement mechanic of Heart of Thorns, the gliders. Here you're attacking some of the random stuff that it spawns. And when you kill it, alright. Here's the kill shot. Right now,
Don't let the creature get
you're
away.
with
Up the
Traherne
tree,
underneath
quickly.
this tree. basically.
No need. It's dying. We got it!
Anyway, let's get back to the fight in the mind of Mordremoth while his body is being assaulted. This won't maximize for some reason.
You should not have come here. I am everywhere. I am all.
Only in your mind. And I will reduce your mind to ashes before I'm done.
Bold words, but empty ones.
Okay. This fight against the dragon in the mind, there are two qualities to it that I hope to highlight. One is that the fight is actually pretty mechanically interesting. There's a lot going on, and it's much more demanding of your ability to play the game and engage with the combat system than the Zhaitan fight was. A super major leap in quality in that sense. One of the things that happens is you actually have to fight the specters of your dead friends, which feels brutal any way you shake it. And, but at the end, the funny thing about this is you do actually have to target an enemy. And the enemy... So here you're attacking the specters of your dead friends. Let's fast forward. Yeah, here we go. The music slaps. Is this thing?
Become part of me and endure.
As cool as this fight is, one of the main complaints the community has had is that this doesn't feel like fighting a dragon. It's a cool creature, it's a cool fight. But the dragons got built way the fuck up. And they expect serious, enormous shit that is hard to pull off with this scale.
Focus your mind. Reject the...
Did the jungle wither away after the dragon died? No. Not really. But that doesn't necessarily mean Mordremoth had an effect on it. People who went this expecting to press F to activate cannon didn't finish this fight. And actually, this fight has a special place in my heart because for the first few months of Heart of Thorns, there was only one way to get a ascended quality amulet of a very desirable new stat combination. And it was by doing a prestige achievement on this fight called Migraine. So I was in here for a long time trying to get that achievement, to get that piece of gear. Now you can get that piece of gear 1,000 different ways. But back in 2015 and early 2016, it was a different landscape. Hi, Young. How's it going? Anyway, let's go to the end. But he is the jungle. Where's my payoff? Right. That's one of those expectations being set that's a little confusing how you pay off on it. I'm right with you, Henry. I totally see the point you're implying and agree with it. Wish I had a higher quality video of this fight. Hold on, I have a link to the end of it. Let's just go to that.
You failed, Mordremoth! For the Pale Tree! For Tyria!
Done!
exiting the mind of Mordremoth. We've killed the dragon's mind? The mind of the jungle?
Did it.
Whatever that
2
means.
dragons down, 4 to go.
It was fun, at least.
We did it. Mordremoth is dead.
Truly dead. I can't hear its voice in my head. It's completely gone.
And we Silvari are still here. Still... us. I wasn't sure.
Commander. My sword, Gallad Bolg, is nearby. It was a gift from the Pale Tree. I am connected, bonded to it. Only its power can free me from this. Please, bring it here.
Oh, salad bowl.
I have the sword, Marshal.
Quickly now. Use it on me. Kill me, Commander.
What? No! Mordremoth is dead. We destroyed its mind from the inside.
But I still hear its voice. Mordremoth is alive. One last hateful vestige. A terrible seed planted deep in my mind. You must kill me, Commander, before that seed grows. Before Mordremoth reclaims what it has lost. What's left of me can't survive on its own. Strike now or...
I am the future. I am this world. You cannot destroy me.
I won't let all this be for nothing. Stand back. I'm ending this. Now!
Y'all sensing a theme? And from Scarlet's death? The ley line search? The redistribution of what? Power? Magic? What was that egg? What's in the egg? The world revolves around that egg. Only the world doesn't know it yet. Stand the Heart of Thorns. One of the really great payoffs at the end of that is the closure of Trahern's arc. Trahern's a character that, well, actually a lot of people loathe because they kind of saw him as they wanted to be Trahern. They saw him as doing things that the player character should be doing. But regardless of whether you think he was important to the story, he was with us through the personal story, and bringing it back and ending his character gave the death of Mordremoth a groundedness that it might not have otherwise had. Let's see here. When press F to greet turns to press F to execute, you know shit got real. True guy. Ja, what's up, Ja? Unless you try to do the achievements and it's hell. I was just talking a minute ago, Ja, about the migraine achievement. Did you do that back in the day so you can get that Ascended Viper's Amulet like I did? Carmel takes credit for everything you as a player did. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you remember. Me too, dude. That's one of the reasons that fight stands out to me. It's actually a pretty good fight, like a well-designed fight. I'm a big fan of it. And let's see here. So what we saw here was a much better dragon confrontation than what we got from the personal story with Zhaitan. This pleased me, and it pleased me at the time, because it showed me that there was an understanding of how important it was to pay off on the dragon threat, and a better understanding of how to use the game to do that. How to use the game to tell the story and the story to make the game. Now, there are some real complaints about Heart of Thorns, an expansion that I loved overall, but I'm going to leave it to Wooden Potatoes to share a couple more thoughts about Heart of Thorns I think are worth mentioning. And one of the main complaints people actually have about the Mordremoth threat.
Number 9, we have Heart of Thorns.
Oh god, I forgot to fix the volume thing. I'm so sorry, guys. Yikes. Did that hurt you as much as that hurt me? Oh god, I'm sorry.
And the fact its scope was way too small to tell the story it had to tell. Heart of Thorns robbed us of a lot of stuff that really should have been there. There really should have been more Foul Lane. There really should have been more air before she died. There really should have been a Nightmare Court story. And I don't just mean the mysterious appearance of Duchess Chrysantha and the removal of a path in Dragon's Stand, but the Nightmare Court and their interplay, how they feel different and strive for freedom to regular Sylvari, is a plot thread that really would have flourished in a world with Mordremoth around. A lot of people talk about Malik and the fact that he didn't appear in the expansion. To that, I'm a little more forgiving. That's a side story they always could have left till later, maybe even up in End of Dragons. But what about the fact that Heart of Thorns never properly explained how we were going to defeat this Elder Dragon? The issue of Deus Ex Traherne, where we can just happen to go into his dream suddenly, and that definitely will kill Mordremoth, but we have to take Traherne out, was so hastily manufactured. What about the fact that Heart of Thorns never actually had an epilogue? And even to this day, while it kind of has one through the Caloudbug story arc, it's something buried in achievements, and you'll probably only do on one character out of order when you've sort of forgotten the rest of the Heart of Thorns storyline. Overall, I would say Heart of Thorns represents a massive de-escalation of the scale of the world. Core may have done things wrong, but it did feel like a real struggle, a real theatre of war and battle against an Elder Dragon, in which we starve it, cut off its supply lines, know its motivations and territory. Mordremoth? We just kind of stumble around as a couple of people in the jungle, and then he's dead. The game's never really recaptured that sense of scope that came with launch. Season 4 got kind of close, but Heart of Thorns was pretty disastrous.
So yeah, that's where it could improve. Room for improvement still on how the story of the Elder Dragons of Tyria is told. So let's count up. We have Zhaitan, Mordremoth. There are 6 Elder Dragons. That leaves 4. And today we're going to talk about 3 more. The next one we're going to talk about is the most well-developed dragon with the most satisfying payoff in Guild Wars 2, and it's going to be fun to watch. But before we do that, I need a quick few-minute break, so I'll be right back. Now we're going to get to what, for me, is the fun part of this discussion, which is going to be talking about the development, the setup, and the payoff of Kralkatorrik's story arc. Now, Kralkatorrik in Guild Wars 2 is the Elder Dragon of crystals and shit? I don't know. Something like that. But he has an important role in the story that I'm not going to show any video of, so I'll briefly just narrate it. Which is that he is the father of a dragon called Glint. Glint, the dragon who's responsible for the... Well, let's see. Glint was turned from a bad dragon into a good dragon by Destiny's Edge? Is that right? And wrote the Flameseeker prophecies? And is the mother of Aurene, who is the baby dragon inside the egg we just saw in the cutscene. And the story of Kralkatorrik got re-engaged in Guild Wars 2 with the announcement of the second expansion, Path Fire.
What happened to you out in the desert?
It's a powder keg over there, and that maniac has already lit the fuse. One person against a god of war.
God.
We know there's something in the desert that will help us turn the tide against Balthazar.
So, will this be your first god fight?
Yeah. You?
The Elder Dragons will die by my hands. And their power will become my power.
I fear he may get the weapon. If he does, the consequences will be unpredictable. We gonna kill a god or what?
We cannot defeat him on our own.
There's no coming back. We must strike now.
The gods have abandoned this world.
No more running, Balthazar! Face me!
This is why games need expansions. Path of Fire. I have to decide if I want to let the word ban happen while I'm doing this show or not. Let me think about this for a minute. You know what? We're gonna try. What's the time limit on the word ban, Lex? I did? Oh, I just said it. I just said it again. Ah, no. Okay. Let's try for a few minutes and see how things go. So, Path of Fire, boom, is announced straight on the heels of One Path Ends, the final release of the Living World episodic content of Season 3. Comes out literally, what is it, like, I hit it again. The expansion comes out 2 months after the last release. Lex, I've built this word ban for when I'm playing PlanetSide. I probably should have clarified that. What is the... All right, I'm going to read it. What did I actually say for this? We're going to put the brakes on this thing while I figure this out. Only for 5 minutes. Oh, I can manage that. Okay. Let's put 5 minutes on the clock. We'll reset whenever I say the word. Chat, let me know. Okay. So Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire comes out the gates not telling us we're here to deal with a dragon, but rather telling us we're here to deal with a god of war named Balthazar. His goal is to kill the dragon, Kralkatorrik, and steal the dragon's power. While all this is happening, there's already a power in place in the desert, which is the undead lich Palawa Joko, who kind of rules the place. And Joko's like, hey, like, I get you guys have things you want to get done here, but this is kind of like my desert. And I kind of rule here. Praise Joko. So Path of Fire takes a different approach to approaching the dragon threat by adding layers to it. And rather than being, let's take on the dragon, it's, let's deal with the problem of a god, a king, and a dragon. This lets the Kralkatorrik threat continue to develop and be promoted while we're dealing with the god. Okay, reset. 9:19 p.m. This allows us to develop the dragon threat while contending with the god and the king, which I think is an advantage of the Path of Fire story, because I'm going to have to erase all this from the VOD. Because talking about dragons is hard. Talking about gods is easier. Talking about kings is easier. And we can talk about dragons through their mouth. It's smart. I think it works really well. I just said it. Crap. Reset it. All right. 9:20 p.m. All right, we got videos. I'm going to put on a video that's at least 5 minutes long. So let's resolve these threats of the god and the king. Here we have the death of Balthazar, the human god of war. Who were stopping from killing the dragon Kralkatorrik and absorbing Kralkatorrik's power. He got some power himself. Let's see what happens.
Aurene, look out!
Aurene is hatched from the egg, and she's here. And absorbing the magic that Balthazar released when he died.
Aurene! No! Aurene.
And boom. There he is. Kralkatorrik, the elder dragon of crystals and shit. He got some magic too, I think. Kralkatorrik's powered up. And he's moving on.
Commander.
Yeah, I like this. This works for me. This is letting Kralkatorrik develop without all the pressure of being a completely fleshed out character that we can relate to. Next. Henry, I think I can manage to not say that word. Let's see how we do. We've killed a god. What about the king?
The rumors of my immortality are drastically understated.
We've just beaten this guy.
Oh, Commander, you look so disappointed.
He's a lich, though.
Impotent. I feel for you. I really do. But let's be honest. You knew in your heart. Fear not. The world will not forget you. The scars you've gouged into it spell out your name for all to see. I confess I was happy to take credit for your victories. But did you ever stop to wonder what that
Praise Joko.
says about you? That so many bought what I was selling. They call me a monster, and you a hero. The world expects Palawa Joko to dare to throw reality into chaos. But surely, no mortal would be so monumentally stupid as to destroy a dragon, the life force of this world. Let alone two, and a god to boot. Perhaps they will finally thank me for luring you to me, so that I may save the world from you. And once you're gone, everyone will flock to my embrace. They will all love me, Palawa Ignatius.
Ah, rip. Ripperoni. Nice bad guy monologue. So ends Palawa Joko, undead lich, and former ruler of the desert. And many minions. So Joko had some really cool development in Path of Fire. The last area, the last map that you unlock, the Domain of Vabi, is a showcase of what a society built around having a mortal life that eventually becomes an immortal undead life can look like. It's super interesting. I'm actually really tempted if I ever go back and replay Path of Fire to take the time to go through and analyze it a bit, because it really it really poses some very cool questions of like, what does a family household look like in a world where your parents and grandparents and great grandparents don't actually die? They just become zombies. It's real shit. Or what do you do with members of your society who have no use, but they can't die? It's interesting. Caesar says, Joko tells you reading that can write a good villain gives you hope. I think a lot of people, me included, were very sad that Joko didn't get more story, because it's very clear that Joko was a very easy villain for Rionette to write. And the community loved it. The community loved it. They definitely could have given us more of him. There's a hero point where you fight the whole family. Pretty funny. Exactly. And they bicker, right, Caesar? I remember that. That's in the near the mines, right? Yeah. So the god threat of Balthazar is actually dealt with successfully during the course of Path of Fire. One of the amazing things about Path of Fire, aside from the dragon threat or whatever, is that the first episode of the Living World post Path of Fire dropped like almost immediately after the expansion. There was hardly time to finish the expansion before there was more story ready for you. It was so amazing. It was a true accomplishment and just pure throughput by the studio. And that's where we got the story where we got to actually fight Joko, not just be aware of him and kind of fight stuff in his land. And after 3 episodes of Living World content, we got Joko. And then finally, after the god and the king were dead, we got to move on to focusing on the big man himself, Kralkatorrik. And here begins a 3-episode arc of some of the most impressive content I've ever seen in an MMORPG that does an imperfect but still impressive job of paying off a storyline that is years and years in the making. It ain't perfect, but it's incredible. I'm going to show some trailers and cinematics that move the story forward from here and on with Kralkatorrik. Joko's dead. What's next?
Her name is Aurene.
Krog's granddaughter.
A scion of Glint chose you as her champion.
Now where could she be?
You set about preparing her.
Any progress with Aurene?
To someday face the Elder Dragons together.
Give it all you've got!
And restore balance to the world.
Do you feel the weight of those words grow heavier with every passing moment?
Aurene has the potential to not only destroy Kralkatorrik, but also replace it.
I hope you fare better, my sister. I hope you feel full of purpose.
Aurene has had a premonition, a vision of the future, of multiple futures.
Do not let them, or yourself, forget what you are.
How about it, Aurene? Are we ready?
A lot of pressure on a baby dragon. A lot of pressure. Destroy and replace his granddaddy. So this is showing off how we're developing the overall dragon narrative through a flicker of hope for the future. A baby dragon who's, from the time it was hatched, free from the influence of its forebears. We raised it, and it grew to understand the world through us. We are its champion. And we're getting to a point where Aurene has taken on a lot of autonomy, and we can't control her all the way. All these layers to the dragon story. And now a common understanding that we cannot just kill a dragon. We have to have a strategy for the world that we live in after the dragon's removed. It's kind of like a real world story of regime change. You can't just get out the ruler you don't like. You got to figure out what the world's going to look like afterwards. So here is a premonition that Aurene shares with us about how her face-off against Kralkatorrik may go. Oreen's desperate. She can't find the reality where she survives the fight against Kralkatorrik. She can't find it. If I remember right, there is some ability that Oreen inherited to look into the future. I can't remember exactly how that works. I really love the black screen plus sound effects thing in these trailers. They do use that as a dramatic touch, though, don't they, Kai? I'm realizing that too as we're watching. Anyway, pushing forward. We're building up to the fight against Kralk. But we're not there yet. This might have been my favorite Living World release.
It's good to... About time you showed up. We're going to Thunderhead Keep.
Oh yeah, baby.
Scion and Champion. If you're here, the final confrontation with Kralkatorrik is imminent.
Logan's here with the pack. Same with Rox and the Omicron.
Let's ring this dragon's bell one last time.
Just to be clear, you do know this plan is insane. Let's say bold.
Everyone, listen up. Glint believed in us. I believe in you. Together, we're going to save the world and kill the Crystal Dragon.
I love the choral motif so much. I want you to feel the patience that Rena is using to develop this, and how they're allowing Oreen to be the conduit of the story. This is Dragon 3 of 6, Kai. And one of the main problems that we struggle with, and so, okay, one of the things we know about Elder Dragons is that they have minions. And generally, when a dragon turns a creature into a minion, the minion loses all autonomy and ability to think for itself, or mostly. And one of the problems we've had with Oreen is just communicating with her, because she's a dragon and she tends to roar. This is a nice little scene. And it's the last little scene of Oreen I want to show off before the big fight.
It's all right. Speak through me.
Cade is a friend. Been with us from the very beginning. She protected Oreen when she was in the egg.
I am not him.
Oh, so good. Now she has a crispy salad. A little bit of crouton in the mix. So yeah, as Oreen's been maturing, she's becoming more powerful and more wild, and we don't really know how she's going to continue to mature. Will she just be another Elder Dragon like all the other Elder Dragons? Did all the other Elder Dragons start out this way too? Is this just a point on a path that's been gone down before? We don't know. And up to this point, we couldn't communicate directly with Aurene anymore until they figured this out and this act of trust occurred. And she's telling us she is not Kralkatorrik. She is not going to continue this cycle. She's going to break it. And now we have one of the coolest encounters you can still play today in Guild Wars 2. Coming up at the end of Season 4, Episode 5, All or Nothing. The first encounter with Kralkatorrik. I don't think Savari tastes like chicken. Probably more like tofu. So we're in Thunderhead Peak. We have a plan.
Canuck, your team have those explosives set and ready to go?
Just the finishing touches now.
Love the positivity, but wrap it up, please.
Ah, Commander, welcome. Captain Thackeray and the...
So we have a plan to lure Kralkatorrik and then trap him in the keep so that we can destroy him. It's a risky plan, but it's the one we've got, and it's the one that Aurene is good with. As this season's progressed, we've been unlocking masteries over time that help us work together with Aurene. And I think we're going to see one of those here on display.
Okay. Between the fleet's cannons and Canuck dropping a mountain on him, Kralk should already be hurting when he shows. Aurene will keep him busy while I trigger the resonance crystals, starting here. That should stun him and buy me time to get to the second crystal.
Don't you love how grounded this is?
Bram's team holds the third until I can get there, and we trigger the final blast. Okay, I think we're actually ready. Everyone, listen up. We'd all love to have more time to prepare for this. We don't have that luxury. But the truth is, we don't need it. Kralkatorrik seems invincible, but he himself had a vision, a prophecy of a world without him. We have everything we need. He's hurting, half out of his mind. We're going to lure him right where we want him, and then we're going to make his vision a reality. Glint believed in us. I believe in you. Together, we're going to save the world and kill the Crystal Dragon. To your posts!
Let's go. Let's fucking go. All right, we're going to fast forward.
Okay, Aurene. It's time.
This feels familiar.
He's fought Kralk before. Failed.
We got a massive storm out here. Just blew in out of nowhere.
Saida, do you read?
Commander! Oh my gosh. He's here! He's here now! All ships, fire! Fire! Commander, brace yourself! Has he always been this alchemy? He's huge!
Enough! Blow the charges, now!
With pleasure.
All ships, press F on the cannon.
Just like before. I channeled her power.
He's focused on Aurene, Commander. Time for you to do your thing!
There, on his neck! Focus your assault on that wound! There's the power.
Combat.
Rage at sure did! According to this data, he's weakening. Disoriented. Wow, he's really hurting.
Good. Keep it coming.
Aurene says it's working. We're breaking him. She says hit him again.
The music in this episode
Okay,
just
I'm
sells
heading
it
for the
so
second
hard.
crystal. Commander, come here. Aurene says she can use the ley lines to help you get across.
all these abilities we're using are abilities that we've trained over the season. It's so deliberate. It's so paced. It's so not rushed.
Whoa! Oreen just branded Grok to the wall! Better get to that second crystal, quick!
Maureen is using her powers against her grandfather. There's a lot to this fight. I'm not going to show all of it, but my favorite moments are when you blast Oreen, or when you tap into Oreen's power to blast Kralk with that resonant energy and the core swells. It's just so good. Like this.
Hey everyone, hit him hard, just like before!
And there's a lot of combat. You've got to use your actual learned ability to play the game to beat this fight. It does everything so well.
On my way to the last crystal. Keep the branded off this one. Take all the time you need.
It's a long fight. It's not over quickly. And you're not just pressing F on cannons. And it's grounded as fuck. You're getting help from your allies. You're blowing up using artillery. You're using Oreen's powers.
We, have his attention.
Behind me, I can shield us.
It's all the power he's absorbed.
Told you I couldn't.
I'll help Bram. It's up to you, Commander. Go finish this.
Killing blow? What do y'all think?
I'll break him apart, piece by piece if I have to. Energy level surging! I require more energy.
I gotta go back and replay this.
You are not getting away from me! Kralkatorrik is... he's just... leaving!
What's happened?
Is everyone in one piece over there?
So we fail.
Hello?
This scene is amazing. Are you guys buying this like the way I want, like the way I am?
I don't understand. There was a vision. A promise that we'd win.
Commander. Oh, spirits. We thought...
Where is she?
No! 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 Orin! No!
Keith. Your flowers. She's gone.
What do we do now?
I don't know.
Fuck. Now that's a thing. That's a thing that Arena did. That is a thing. Sorry. I don't know what it is. I have this gene that when I'm emotionally moved, I sometimes cry like this. But that was a thing. So when I asked if y'all are buying it the way I am, I bought that story. I bought it. And look, between all the cinematics I've been stringing together, there's a lot of game. And the game is not always perfect at selling and supporting those cinematics. It's hard making a video game, but it often does. In my opinion, this is some of the best story content the game's ever seen. And the Kralkatorrik arc, especially in hindsight, is just incredibly impressive. And we haven't even hit the high point yet. Now I'm realizing the bit of homework I neglected. There's one more video we need that I forgot to find. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if this is what we want. I think this is it. Here we go. So picking up where we left off from not knowing where to go, what to do. By the way, thanks to all the Guild Wars 2 YouTubers who recorded themselves doing this stuff. This is really helpful to me.
Return to Arene.
Hey.
We're going to hear the streamer narrate a little bit.
No. I've got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is everyone?
See for yourself.
They've made this into a little camp. So this is where the trailer must have happened. Amora, Saida, Canuck, Logan.
Standing in front of crowd
Who's
like
that?
She went out like a true corsair.
No. Like a true soldier.
Oh, Commander, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say.
It's all right.
Look at that dignified shuffle.
It's a Zephyrite. Oh, cool.
I feel like I should be saluting you.
Thank you, Logan.
I like their new armor. Not in there. It's very cool. Shaking with rocks. Nothing to say. Interesting.
Commander, we're here to pay our final respects. We've been singing to her since before she was born. It seems only fitting we sing for her one last time as we prepare for the
don't
end
say
of
that.
all things.
That's still just wow.
You made it!
Oh, thank you. It's so hard to...
We'll get through this together.
I don't see how. Kralkatorrik is in the mist, devouring everything he can. He won.
Auric!
He's right.
We failed. Again. Again.
The commander will figure something out. Always does.
No, Bram. Not this time. It's over. Kaith and I will tend to Orion.
Wow.
The rest of you, you should be with the ones you love.
Wow.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
What they said.
Whatever time we have left. It's a gift. Aurene gave it to us.
Does that even matter?
It matters. Please. I can't look at her like this anymore.
Let's get these crystals off of her.
We can weaken the brand. It would be an honor.
Approach Kaith.
So at this point, if you were playing the game live as it was being released, there were a few months between these releases and a lot of speculation about what would come next. I think what you're about to see was not a surprise to most of the savvy members of the community. I'm not sure that it has to be a surprise to really pay off, but whatever you think about it, I encourage you to suspend your final judgment on it until things play out a little further. We're going to go on a ride.
Sacrifice yourself to bring Aurene back, maybe? Oh, wow. What's happening?
I like the narration. It's actually good.
What is that?
I don't know. But I feel...
What is that?
Something.
We feel it too.
Yes. Yes, it's like...
an echo.
Okay, what's she gonna do?
Impossible.
Your flowers.
Everyone stand back.
What is this? What are you doing?
Commander, what's happening?
She's glowing?
What is happening? Is she gonna come back to life already?
My champion.
What?
Scion speaks. Aurene. How?
Eating a lich has its advantages.
She can talk now as well.
Alchemy. Dragons eat magic.
What?
Praise Choco! Kept us waiting long enough.
Praise Joker.
Rand, in
That was a bit weird.
hard to mend.
Aurene, please. You must relax.
No time to Kralkatorrik. Stop him.
But how would this be any different? Won't we just fail again?
He's not expecting Aurene to be back.
Fail. We learned.
No one's ever really gone.
She had to die. For this was the fire of courage.
And so did they. Follow their god into battle.
Without fear or hesitation.
Now we must ride.
Oh.
Scion and champion. Flush Kralkatorrik. From the mists.
Right. If he dies in the mists, that's it. His magic is gone, and so is Tyria.
Yes. My vision came true. And so
Her vision of
must
death
his.
came true.
Gorik, send the commander.
Okay.
Telemetry coming your way. Do not let him get away this time.
We won't. Logan, can you meet us on the other side?
We know where you're steering him. The Pact will be there to finish the fight.
We'll all coordinate with Gorik and Tiny. Today the whole world joins Dragon's Watch.
Go, Scion. Finish the song we started.
Okay.
I will. I promise.
I'm kind of surprised she's back so
It's
soon.
time, champion.
Am
Are
I
you
ready?
ready?
I am ready.
Y'all ready for this?
Pursue Kralkatorrik into the mist. This is gonna be cool.
He's right.
Dragon flight. That is so cool.
It's so empty.
Eaten. By
So this
him.
is the mists. Oh my god. Oh my god.
He's still bleeding badly. We almost killed him in the keep.
Almost. Let's drive him back to Tyria and finish the job.
He's so just absolutely massive.
Remember, the Scion cannot succeed without you.
Glint!
So,
This is so cool.
yeah, it is so fucking cool.
Grandfather! Look at me!
Whoa!
Oh,
How
whoa,
lo-
where's he going?
How long is
He's
this?
not happy to see you.
Definitely not happy to see me.
This is just so cool.
So you're not actually controlling the movement of Aurene in this. It's kind of like a rail thing. You have some abilities you get to use, and you can choose when to use them. And basically, you're trying to knock Kralk out of the sky. You do have a button. Is it a button to avoid, or are you actually moving? Maybe I'm misremembering this. But this is the closest we've gotten to an Elder Dragon in motion in the franchise. Again, Arena raising the bar on what they can do with dragons. This is stunning compared to the Zhaitan fight, compared to the Mordremoth fight. And this is all being done not with the budget of a newly released game, not with the budget of an expansion, but with a living world episodic free release. It's impressive.
The mist.
Still in the mists?
The God realms. Melandru.
He's gonna consume the gods. Oh.
For what?
Kralk is browsing the mists.
Watch out! Don't let those hit you.
I know.
Anyway, let's fast forward a bit and find out what happens.
It's healing him.
He got away from us.
Too quick.
Let's clip his wings.
Oh my god, are we actually going to take his wings off?
A better world is waiting to be born.
There! Give it everything you've got!
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so cool.
And this reveals
Dragonfall.
Dragonfall.
Oh, wow, this map
A
looks
new
awesome.
zone, an explorable region of the game, composed of the corpse of Kralkatorrik and the debris that fell around him. Fucking wild. Wild shit. What the fuck, ArenaNet?
Regroup with your allies. Packed outpost. Where are we?
But the thing is, Kralk's not actually all the way dead. He's not actually all the way dead. Yeah, he's in a pretty bad state. He's pretty fucked up. But if we're going to do this, we got to see it through to the end. So, the story continues from here. We navigate around Dragon's Fall, figure out what's going on, what Kralkatorrik's state is, and we decide we have to find a way to end Kralkatorrik for real. A little bit similarly to Heart of Thorns and Mordremoth. There's a fight going on the surface to subdue Kralkatorrik from the outside, what life is left in him, and the minions he can control, while we take the fight inside. But unlike Mordremoth, we're not doing something super lame and abstract, like going inside his mind. No, we're literally going to penetrate inside the dragon and take him out from within. This is amazing. Absolutely. Totally is fucking amazing. To back this up a little bit.
She dies in there, Joko's mad.
But there's a source of power still inside him. Doing more damage out here doesn't affect it.
We can't kill him. Not from outside.
You're saying we need to go in.
There's no other way.
What? Through his mouth?
Clear the road.
Just Aurene and me. If she dies in there, Joko's magic can resurrect her. The rest of you, not so much.
But that goes for you too.
We've known all along that the Scion and Champion must face Kralkatorrik together.
Defend these ley lines. If he starts healing again, it's over.
The Branded will not get past us.
Ritlock, listen. Dragon's Watch.
Shut up. You're coming back.
Aurene. I love you.
I love you too. Champion, it's time.
Hope for the best. That's the story step we're on. This moment reminds me of the movie Independence Day, when they're flying the spaceship into the mothership and not sure what the hell's going to be on the inside.
It's so beautiful and quiet.
If we succeed, what happens to you?
I'm not sure exactly. I can feel all the magics in it. They're not in harmony.
Child of my child.
Oh.
Come to me.
Aurene, what's happening?
I can feel his pain. A million agonies. So much suffering.
Some kind of trick?
No. I think he wants us here.
You sure about that?
He's fractured, warring with the other magics. I've got
Alright, here we get some combat. But we've established that Kralkatorrik has consciousness and intent that is not strictly destructive, which is something we did not know before. We've established that his torment and his pain has power over him that is not strictly him. And it's partially born of the fact that he's had to take on all this other magic that's from these other dragons and gods and all the other lovely things that we've killed in the last few years without knowing the consequences. And I think we can also extrapolate from the thousands and thousands of years leading up to this moment. See, we don't know how an Elder Dragon becomes an Elder Dragon. Are they just a particularly strong entity that gobbles up magic until it becomes this horrendous thing? And what's the cost of doing that? We don't really know the answer. But Kralkatorrik, in this fight, starts to show us what the answer could be. And it's tantalizing as all hell. Okay. There's a lot of fighting that goes on here, and a lot of dialogue goes back and forth, with Kralkatorrik saying that he accepts Aurene, that Aurene is the path forward, that she's a new thing, totally separate from the Elder Dragons, and that she should take his power, and that he was ready, and he's ready to go. It's really kind of amazing, while defeating his pain and subduing it, essentially numbing him to it. Here we go.
It has to be this way, Grandfather.
They are her strength. She tries.
sorry. It has to be this way, Grandfather.
Child of my child, I only hope that you never have to kill what you love. Now, mortal, return my blood to my hearts.
Aurene?
Do it.
Mother.
My grandfather's prophecy is fulfilled. My mother's legacy is complete.
What did mother mean? Okay. We're going to switch to a higher quality version of this now.
My grandfather's prophecy is fulfilled. My mother's legacy is complete.
Fulfilled and complete.
I can't explain what's about to happen, Champion.
What's next?
But I want to share it with you. All of you.
Oh, the choral payoff at the end, too. Okay. That's it. That's the end of Kralkatorrik. So what do you guys think? Did we do a better job of taking on Kralkatorrik than we did Mordremoth or Zhaitan? There's tons that can be said about the content that came out with the story, the maps, and things like fractals, PvP raids. Plenty that can be said, but from a pure standpoint of telling a story that involves these elder dragons, this is as close to the perfection of that we've seen, and I think it's hard to see. It was hard to see in the moment when it was coming out because we were getting these releases and these cinematics, as cool as they were happening, months and months apart from each other. That's how long it takes to make a video game. But there's a continuity of intention and a layering of meaning that we get to see with the Kralkatorrik arc that we don't get to see elsewhere with the first two dragons. And it's both comforting and discomforting. Comforting because we know that ArenaNet can do it. They just showed us. But do you guys remember how season 1 ended with the death of Scarlet? And the power going everywhere and being redistributed? And the tease of what's next? Do you remember how season 2 ended with the attack on the jungle? The tease of the jungle dragon? Do you remember how Heart of Thorns ended with the Mordremoth's death and his power going wild and the pointing to the egg that Irene resided in? And do you remember the end of season 3, which led right into Path of Fire and the threat of Balthazar in the desert taking on the dragon? And do you remember how Path of Fire led straight into season 4, picking up after killing Balthazar with the job of dealing with Joko? But where does this point to? Where is the story going? And I think the answer is, when this was made, it was probably supposed to be the end. This is important. I'm just speculating, of course. But when I watched this the first time, the impression that I had is that this is the end of Guild Wars 2. Like, this is a satisfying arc. This is a button on the problem of dragons. We know that dragons can be dealt with now. Like, yeah, like there are still Elder Dragons out there, but they can be a mop-up. So this story was released in, I think it was May 2019. Yeah, that's right. May 2019. A mere 3 months after a third of the company at ArenaNet was laid off from their jobs. And previously unannounced projects that were being worked on at ArenaNet were shuttered permanently. Or at least permanently enough to people to lose their jobs. And there was no clear direction for Guild Wars 2 to go after this. In August of 2019, 3 months after this release, ArenaNet, in an attempt to get back on their feet, announced the Icebird Saga, a continuation of the story. I was there at the Moore Theater in Seattle, Washington, when they announced this. I'm going to read something. I wonder if I can find it. I tweeted out my thoughts from the event. God, Twitter search is so terrible. I can't find it. I guess I'll just summarize. But I left that announcement of the Icebird Saga with being given these promises of more episodic content from Guild Wars that would be expansion-like in quality. And I didn't know why they were saying that. After we had just gotten what we had with the Kralkatorrik arc and the crazy payoffs from it. Why would they need to tell us that this was an expansion-like quality episodic story format. It's because it wasn't an expansion. In August 2019, it had been nearly 2 years since Path of Fire's release, which was released 2 years after Heart of Thorns. And the community was waiting for the announcement of Guild Wars 2's third expansion. But we didn't know what it meant that the community had been laid off. And they didn't show us a lot at this announcement of the Icebird Saga. And I left thinking that the more theater was reserved by ArenaNet, not for this announcement. They were there for something else. I don't know what that was supposed to be. But I think we can all... I think it's a relatively safe inference to say that it had something to do with the people who lost their jobs earlier that year. And the Icebird Saga was the best attempt by a group of people to get something together as quickly as they could. And now, after that, we're going to delve into the Icebird Saga and how the dragon story continued with Jormag, the Elder Dragon of Ice, and Primordus, the Elder Dragon of Fire. And at the end, we're finally going to get to what the events of last week, when Jormag and Primordus faced off in the Icebird Saga Champions Judgment. But before that, a short break. I'll be back in 3. We got to talk about the reason I went on this whole trip. 3 p.m. nap time, hell yeah. The reason I went on this whole trip is just to show that telling an effective story with dragons can be done. Has been done. May be done again. Because what we're about to see is a little sad. Zhaitan down. Mordremoth down. Kralkatorrik down. Now, Aurene is out in the world, and Jormag and Primordus are waking up. Literally. Here's a trailer for the Icebird Saga. What's next in the world of dragons?
You do not fear death. You fear something far worse. You fear outliving the ones you swore to protect. You fear the day your children no longer feel the chill of the frost or the warmth of the flame. It is this fear that is your enemy, not I. The prison in which all races of Tyria suffer. But you need not fear me, champion. For I can set you free. Join me, and you shall have the strength to protect your people in the trials to come. Stand against me, and you stand alone.
So we see the character of Jormag being kicked off with a bang. Not making the usual pitch of fuck off or die, but instead saying, join me. I will align your interests with mine. Resistance is futile. Immediately, Jormag, the ice dragon, is painted as less of a in-your-face threat and more of a behind-the-back threat. More likely to trick you and manipulate you than to try to defeat you through sheer force. More evidence.
Champion, it's time I treat you with the respect you deserve. Speak face to face.
That voice.
The air is thick with change. I feel it, even as I dream beneath the ice.
Jormag.
You feel me as you feared Kralkatorrik. That is natural. But ice fortifies. Ice protects. All this war, all this pain, Orin wants to end it. And I can help her. I want to help her. Terrible things lurk just beyond the horizon. But you can bring eternal peace to our world. In time, you'll realize you need me. And when you do, I'll be waiting.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So that calm from Almora.
The very first release of the Icebird Saga actually takes us to a congregation of the Char. The Char are trying to unify. The Char are actually a big part of the Icebird Saga, and I think most people were expecting it to be about more of a Norn story. It's not the way it panned out. Anyway, that was Jormag speaking to us, suggesting that we need her. She shares our goals, shares Orin's goals. Interesting, right? It's actually quite a different texture in the early episodes of the Icebird Saga. After the Char party, take us up to the frozen north and have these elements of horror and fear, and strikes a very different tone from all previous Guild Wars. It's pretty cool. It's pretty different.
6 feet tall.
It's time.
And it culminates here at the Frost Citadel.
We're too late.
Where the champions of the Char finally get what they want.
Jormag, your champion awaits.
Champion? Well, you did gather my army. And so you will be rewarded.
Bangar Ruinbringer tried to unify the Char.
Rise, voice of Jormag.
Voice of Jormag. Jormag, I am
Ryland Steelcatcher. I know you. A born leader who's waited your whole life for a role worthy of your talents.
Yes.
Your sire's ferocity, your dam's discipline, and all that rage seething under the surface.
Yes.
Yes. I see you, Ryland, and what you've wanted all along.
I want to be your champion.
Then rise, champion of Jormag.
Okay. Is there more of this?
What have you become? Come, champion. Now that I'm awake, things are set in motion. To the rest of you, I leave this gift. My voice. I told you we'd all talk to each other again soon. I look forward to our conversations.
So Bangar Ruinbringer, Imperator of the Char, becomes the new voice of Jormag, which is a role. Have we seen other dragons have voices? I don't think so. There was an eye of Zhaitan, a mouth of Mordremoth. But these are symbolic, right? Zhaitan sees all. Mordremoth consumes all. And apparently, Jormag's a gum flapper. Kai, is this the chart from your stream the other day? Ryland, yeah. That moment where, well, we're going to get there in a sec, Kai. Yeah, that's Ryland, the guy who became the champion. So this is Jormag, the Dragon of Ice. And this is all the development we get for Jormag. That's it. It's all of it. It's all the buildup. Let's go to Primordus, Dragon of Fire. This is a scene from all the way back in Season 3. Back in 2016, maybe early 2017. Not sure exactly. And this is a pretty incredible moment where there's a whole map called Draconis Mons where you're in the inside of a volcano and you plunge into its heart to deal with a problem. And what you find there, you'll see. You'll see.
Okay, are we gonna see him?
That did it! Go! Go!
Holy crap. Holy crap, this is cool.
The same guy we were listening to earlier.
Is this him?
Look at the size of that thing.
I'm dead. I think that's him, though.
So our job here, plunging into the volcano, isn't to defeat Primordus. We're trying to actually subdue him, put him to sleep.
This is so cool.
Magic energy present.
Okay. But not here. If that...
We have Timey's help. Basically, Timey is the one who engineers this whole thing. She's a fucking hero. She figures out how to put Jormag and Primordus to sleep. She is Deus Ex Timey. And she can solve almost all of our problems, it seems. At least at this point.
Coast clear. Can I come down?
There's a god and an elder dragon down here.
So
But you're
is
welcome
him.
to join.
Oh, Balthazar's there too. I remember this.
Are they gonna kill Primordus in the living world?
Whoa! Water down here. That's Primordus, right there. I've never been this close to an elder dragon.
Should we be worried about it? I don't know, moving and killing us all?
I theorized the machine would put it in a state of paralysis. Looks like I was right.
So what's going on with Balthazar?
Shit,
He
that's
somehow inserted himself into the system, and he's so magically adept. So in order to absorb...
This is really more a story about Balthazar than it is a story about Primordus, but I wanted to show it off because we are trying to understand how Primordus and Jormag got to where they were. last week, which we'll show in a minute. But this is Balthazar before the events of Path of Fire, trying to power up, trying to tap into that sweet fire magic. And we're stopping him. After doing so, and with Timy's help, we're going to put Jormag and Primordus back to sleep. Is there a point at the end here I can show off? Let me think. This part of the monitor is behind my webcam.
What was that?
That was what I thought was going to happen. It just took a little longer.
Oh, there's a little cinematic.
My voice is gonna wake up, guys.
You okay?
Yeah. The machine, it survived. Huh, what do you know? I was
What was that?
That was what I thought was going to happen. It just took a little longer.
But Tyria seems intact, so at least there's that. You see Balthazar?
No. Looked like he was vaporized in the explosion, but he apparently doesn't like to follow the rules I know.
And Primordus?
Let me check.
Elder Dragon Spectrum. Primordus. Energy subsiding to pre-awakening level.
What? Bada boom!
Night, sweet dragon! Guessing the same thing happened to Jormag, too. Yeah, still...
Easy. Just put him to sleep. Easy. Okay. We get one more moment with Primordus before the big confrontation. This is from the prior story release, Icebird Saga Champions Balance? Is it balance? I think balance is the word. Wild into Primordus. Oh, this is me. Spirit energy. Bear. I was really trying to get into this. Snow leopard. So we're playing as Bram, who's approaching Primordus for some reason, using the powers of the spirits, which are a thing. So this is going to go tragically, right? Right?
Wrong. The dragon felt no affinity with us. We almost devoured. We need a way to anchor ourselves.
We must be tricked into claiming the connection. How do you stop an avalanche? Yes.
We don't. We get above it. Primordus needs a champion. A champion like Ryland. A harness. What if I become like...
Why are you doing this? The attention? The legend? The power?
No. I'm doing it so everyone will be safe. So my friends will survive.
And that is your spirit, Bram Erson. Never doubt your spirit.
Embrace destiny. Press F to embrace destiny.
Maureen, I know this wasn't exactly the plan, but we will bring the twin dragons together, no matter what it takes. Tell the commander. This is my choice.
So up till this point, we don't really want a confrontation. We've been avoiding a Jormag Primordus confrontation because it seems like a bad idea. Bram's just going off on his own, doing his own thing. He's hot-headed. We know this about him. This is in character.
Bram, where did
No
he
cutscene.
survive?
He just...
I believe he was able to bond with Primordus. Yes.
Or it lets us
I'm
know what's
cut
up.
off from him now.
Bram sacrificed himself to protect us all. How could he?
His plan could very well succeed. If Jormag and Primordus are coaxed into confrontation, they will destroy each other.
That's okay.
But what happens to Bram when they do?
It was his choice. We have to respect it. No matter the outcome, we owe him that.
Damn. Fuck the world, I guess. It's Bram, our buddy. Brammers. So what I just showed off is pretty much all the development we get of Jormag and Primordus before last week's release. And I put together a little supercut of myself playing that release, which I'm going to play for us now. I'm going to play the local version, though. It's much nicer quality. Twitch will murder it as hard. Okay. Here we go. This is my cut of my playthrough last week of the big confrontation. So did we killed the dragons? Oh, man. I knew this was going to be quick. But I didn't know it was going to be this quick. Window capture wasn't working there for some reason. Let's try that again. So did we killed the dragons? Oh, man. I knew this was going to be quick. But I didn't know it was going to be this quick.
Make no mistake, Primordus' death is our priority. Our intention was never to contribute to the atrocity of the Frozen.
The longer Bram is connected to Primordus, the more integrated they become. Until there's nothing left.
Our models revealed that elder dragons aren't just attracted to ley lines. They're literally magically connected to them.
I can tap into the ley line and cut Jormag and Primordus off from any magic not their own.
This sounds a lot like the revelation that we can go into Mordremoth's mind to get him. Easy. Or we can make airships with lasers to kill Zhaitan. Easy. The reason I took so much time to show off the Kralkatorrik arc is because it was so grounded in stuff that we've been through, gone through. It didn't feel like the means we used to take on the dragon were on uncertain footing. This, to me, feels like it is.
And why exactly haven't we done this before?
So I want to
This is
know.
a final measure. There will be no second chances.
It hasn't been done before because this is a final measure. There'll be no second chances. Boy, that line's doing a lot of work.
Then let's get to work.
What do we got? We're putting everything we can into this. Let's hope it's enough. Let's hear the details. The Arcane Council's data. How does Jobby sound? Our tacticians have pinpointed a ley line nexus with increased dragon minion activity. We'll engage the minions to hopefully draw out the Elder Dragon. Like my voice works? Didn't we put these dragons to sleep a few seasons ago? Another day, another dragon. Right, Commander? Sorry. We're a little nervous right now. Just relax. Let's go over the plan again. Right. Well, Jormag and Primordus are each other's weakness. Like anti-symbiotic organisms or polarized hollow matrices. So we get them to clash and they'll destroy each other? That's the hope. I hope you double-checked your calculations. Migmac, thanks for the follow, by the way. Welcome.
We're on the field awaiting your orders, Commander. I'll take you there. Just say the word.
Here we go. Okay. 2 dragons at once. What's this gonna be like? Oh man, that is hype. After Kralkatorrik, expectations are high.
Destroyers are crawling all over.
It's a big boy.
Almost ready.
Not big enough. Kill the red thing. Kill the blue thing.
Did you grow?
There we go.
All that Jormag energy can't be good for you.
You picked a weak dragon you knew you could control. Coward.
So here we get to see the reason why we went with the Icebrood Champions name for these releases. Because this fight focuses pretty hard on the champions, and the story leading up to it is less about the dragons and more about the champions. Them being Ryland, son of Ritlock, and dude who wants to be a leader and a champion. And, of course, Kabarammers. And there's a decent amount of fighting, like we get to actually punch and hit with our swords and do all the good stuff. Guild Wars stuff. But once we've done all that, what happens next?
I bid you to burn.
Scary Primordus. Big Jormag.
What?
Kill. Ice. Just try it.
My champion will teach you to fear
Look at these dragons.
Icebrood reinforcements! They're drawing on the ley line. It'll shift the power in Jormag's favor. That's bad.
Not a huge fan of
I think Primordus shrunk since the last time we saw him.
Destroy the ley line siphons. Do that
Still pretty fucking good looking.
to the dragons. I'm
Alright,
sure it'll be no
I have to go kill stuff.
I've stayed my hand before, brother. No more. Today, I obliterate the balance that chains us together.
Alright, kill crystals. Fine. Sure. Why not? Roller Beetle's so fun, man. Fight, fight, fight. I like this clash here, it's cool. Also easy to break up, though.
As long as Jormag is connected to the power of a champion and the Frozen, they will keep Primordus cowed.
Don't let up! We've got to bring both champions down!
Kind of weird that we're not hearing from the dragons at all, right? Given that we know Jormag can communicate with us.
Use the prisms now. The champions are hanging on to dragons by a thread.
The dragons are vulnerable. This is it.
What's this gonna be? What? Zap.
Elder dragons. This might take a couple rounds. Stay strong.
I feel it, champion. The connection's weak.
The prisms are ready to launch you closer, Commander. Attack now! Sever their bond to the dragon.
Killing dragons tonight. Or at least bopping them on the nose. Rinse and repeat.
Is this working?
Zap these dragons who are just sitting there passively.
Stay focused. One last push. For Bram. For all of us.
They do look cool though.
Champion, help me! There's too much. This power. It's so wild. Get to the prisms.
I'm coming! Hold on, Aurene!
No! We can't stop now. Not for anything.
Transfer power to him. Oh shit.
Champion, I'm pulling you back.
What? That was cool.
It's done, champion.
So did we killed the dragons? Oh man. I knew this was gonna be quick. But I didn't know it was gonna be this quick. Look for
Anyone on
survivors.
comms? Anyone seen
Maybe
Bram?
I'm wrong. Listen to my past self, hoping that the dragons aren't dead. Why would I hope that?
Whoa.
Kabram.
Dead.
Listen to me, I'm calling Kabram.
Bram.
Bram's fine.
To rest. To heal.
Like
You're
unmarked.
the biggest hypocrite I've ever met, Commander.
Big true.
Settle down. It's over.
Stay with him. I'll go help Ritlock.
Your beach. Primordus' champion is lying in the dirt. You don't have a chance.
That's your favorite part, Kai. I think this is gonna go.
You're just jealous.
I'm ashamed. Ashamed I bore you. Better to have bled you out and spared the world.
Harsh, Mom. It's a great yell. Cinematic audio.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Nothing left to prove.
That's brutal. Rylan was his son.
He gave Ryland every chance to do the right thing.
Sometimes there is no right thing. Let's give them time.
Rest in peace, furry bad man. Dear furry bad man, you were mad and you were bad. But your dad is cool. Goodbye. I'm not gonna dance on him. I was respecting him. Tongue in cheek, sure, but I have some honor. Kai, you want a kabram? Kabram! Does that make you happy?
All that power. 2 dragons. How are you feeling?
I'm fucked up, honestly. I don't think this is the right thing. I'm not so sure. Why did we do this? Why are we sure this was gonna work? How did we get here so quickly? Why are we in such a rush?
I felt such a rush of wild magic, but then some of it seemed to just flow through me. There's still so much I don't know.
Wait, you're saying some of it's missing?
We have research
to do.
Missing magic. Oh boy.
That's how it's done.
Champion's End. That's it. So. It's a long journey to get here. A long journey through the great build-up and disappointing payoff of Zhaitan. Through Heart of Thorns and Mordremoth and what were enjoyable fights, but with shaky grounding, I think. And then going to the arc of Kralkatorrik through Path of Fire in Season 4 that passed through Balthazar and Palawa Joko and Oreen and how incredible it was. And now this. I don't want to revel in it. I don't love talking shit. But this does not meet the quality bar that Guild Wars 2 has set for itself in the past. To put it in the words of another popular creator, going through a moment in a game like this should suggest to us that the Elder Dragons don't matter. Because the key thing is that we get past them. It's not important to deal with them because dealing with them isn't hard. It'll just happen. When we get there, we'll figure it out. Who gives a shit? Not a big deal. Stakes aren't a big deal. Bram's fine. Whatever. He's his old self. Ryland, screw that guy. He was a dick. It's just like, but these are feelings, right? And they're all legit. I think they're fair. But, and I know this conversation's been going on for hours at this point, but I need to think through all this. I have a few more notes. Here's a link to some comments that Wooden Potatoes made. It's very short, actually, but I need to fix my OBS to show it. And there have been a few creators who have done a really good job of picking through this and talking about all the ways that it doesn't measure up. I'm just going to do that by showing y'all what was good. And by juxtaposition, letting you fill in the blanks. Compared to Kralkatorrik, this is hand-wavy, disappointing. Here's Wooden Potatoes.
There's no epilogue, there's no nothing. The devs know that this isn't good. I don't know whether I really expressed this well enough in the recent videos, but they know. You know, that's why the blog post came out at the same time. That's why you get a mail with some free Ascended gear and, you know, them saying thanks for supporting us in these difficult times. That's why they gave us not 1, but 2 Blackline keys. Sometimes they'll give you a Blackline key, you know, as a hook, get you in on that gambling. They gave you 2 for free. It's because they know it's low quality and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be established. Now, let's...
Okay, so this idea that the developers know that it's low quality, I think this is interesting. Let's have a look at what he's talking about. Here it is. So this is a blog post that came out the same day that this story was released. And in a lot of ways, dominated the community conversation over any discussion about the story. Hello, Tyrians. Today we release Chapter 4, Judgment, wrapping up the Icebird Saga. To thank you for your support this year and to aid you on your future adventures, players who've completed every episode of the Icebird Saga, today and in the future will receive a special Ascended accessory. This is Eye the North. After you finished it, it'll be sent to your in-game mailbox. We know everyone's excited to hear more about Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, so let's take a look at what's on deck for Guild Wars 2 in the next few months. We haven't talked about End of Dragons at all. What is End of Dragons? Rewind. So, let's go back to the end of 2020. At this point, Icebird Saga is rolling. It started in September of 2019, and we've seen a few episodes released. It's chugging along. Is it giving us expansion quality content? Debate it. But out of the blue, a year after we saw the Icebird Saga start and the exit of a couple of leaders who we've really gotten to know pretty well, Mike O'Brien and Mike Z, namely. We got this.
This land, it's a monument to mortal resilience. They built new lives upon the very thing that sought to end theirs.
Mortals are little flames, brilliant, hot, then gone. Those who face eternity easily forget what a lifetime means, what an ending means.
You know it doesn't have to be this way.
No, Kunavine, it does. They need me.
Third expansion teaser. There it is. This was teased in August 2020. In October 2020, it was announced that the Icebird Saga was having a redirect. And the rest of the releases will be called Icebird Saga Champions. And I read in its own words. Nights are growing longer, and we can hear Jormag's whispers in every chill. It's nearly time for the Icebird Saga's climactic arc to shake Tyria to its core. Champions is a multi-chapter living world finale featuring new story, repeatable gameplay content, rewards, achievements, and masteries. In the weeks between releases, each chapter will continue to evolve with new content and ways to play. We're diving deep into development on the upcoming expansion, End of Dragons. Since our work on Acantha is top secret for now, we're sharing a high-level look at our living world and festival release plans. Here we can see plans that were more or less hit. There are 4 chapters of Icebird Saga Champions, which was a series of releases of which we just saw the final, that was tasked with killing Jormag and Primordus and keeping us busy. Dragon response missions I'm not going to talk about, but they're there. Yeah, this is what it is. So why did this happen? Well, clearly the studio is pivoting to focus on the End of Dragons. They're all hands on deck to make an expansion. We've seen this before. Do you guys remember early 2015? After Season 2 finished and we had 9 months of no content leading up to Heart of Thorns? They didn't want to do that. But so how did they get into this situation in the first place? Well, I had the chance to talk to Bobby Stein a couple months ago, and the way he put it was, he said that they had they were working on Icebird Saga and then they got the chance to work on an expansion. So, in other words, an expansion was not in the cards and suddenly it entered the cards. So they had to do a redirect. I'm asking myself what else I really want to say about this. Because I think the blindingly obvious doesn't necessarily need to be stated. ArenaNet can do a good dragon story. They didn't because they didn't have enough people working on it. The question to me is, what damage does this do? And what can we expect in the future? So End of Dragons is announced. We're expecting it maybe sometime this year. Let's have a look at this summer 2021 preview. Going back to this. Our first major step on the journey to Cantha is coming soon. On July 27th, 3 months from the release of the last content drop with the Judgment release, join us for a live stream event with a tidal wave of information. So we're going to be getting a big upload of information similar to Path of Fire when it was released, rather than a slow trickle similar to Heart of Thorns. Before that, we're getting some cool stuff, actually. Skill and balance update, groovy. Always love that. That creates new gameplay for a lot of really dedicated players. Always love seeing that. Living World, complete the cycle. So they're going to add some new incentives and achievements to do previous story stuff. This is pretty cool. This is a nice little love letter to the existing community. People who already like the game and just need excuses to keep playing it. It's going to keep people busy. Not a bad thing to have. Twisted Marionette. I'm actually very excited about this because I never got to play the Twisted Marionette because I missed the first few years of Guild Wars 2's Living World. I'm very excited about this. The Legendary Armory, I'm not excited about it because I don't know. This is a whole separate conversation for me, I think, that I'm not going to have tonight. Guild Wars 2 loot just doesn't call to me anymore. Ongoing summer events, and there's going to be some bonus weekends. Cool. Okay. But yeah, we're in End of Dragons holding mode. And I think the big conversation in the community for people who care about it, and to be honest, a lot of people don't care about it, is how bad is it that Guild Wars 2 gave us 2 dragon kills in what amounts to a tiny story patch? How okay are we with the idea of just getting through the dragons and fast forwarding? And what are we fast forwarding to in the first place? Is the End of Dragons the end of Guild Wars 2? Now, one of the things I thought about talking through today was moments in Guild Wars history that actually had a big negative effect on the game. Because I'm asking myself, how bad is this? And to be honest with y'all, I think for the overall success of Guild Wars 2, this story release probably is not that big of a deal. I think it will hit some people who care about lore and who are hanging on by their fingernails pretty hard. But I think for the people who are here for core systems like Fractals, Race, World v World, PvP, Open World, all the great stuff people do that keeps people going, the great events that guilds like Hardstuck are running, all that stuff, this is just a blip on the radar. And there have been events in Guild Wars 2's history that actually have had big negative effects. Wooden Potatoes did a great video about the low moments of Guild Wars 2. I have some stuff blocked out, but I think I'm not gonna drag this out to go through every one. But there are things like how the personal story requires basically no ability to play the game, and what that trains and what behaviors that trains in players, and how it kind of turned Guild Wars 2 into the easy mode MMO. The introduction of Ascended Gear, and how that alienated a bunch of people who were sold Guild Wars 2 on a promise that it was not like your average MMO that was going to use you up and spit you out. How PvP was not ready when the game released. and how a bunch of people who tried to buy into the idea of Guild Wars 2 as an esport, which Guild Wars 1 did a pretty good job of for its day, basically gave up. And the PvP scene was compromised forever because of the fact that PvP, from an infrastructure perspective, was just not ready when Guild Wars 2 released. The Flame and Frost release, the first major Living World story release, post-release, which occurred in, I think, January 2013, which would have been 5 months after Guild Wars 2's initial release, was a bunch of people going around in Zergs and clicking on signs. And it signaled to people who were hanging on, who were trying to figure out what Guild Wars 2 was going to be, that this was not worth hanging on for. Again, I'm getting a lot of this secondhand from Wooden Potatoes because I didn't play during that time. But I think it sounds fair. And one of the last things he mentioned that really did damage to the game was in I think it was 2014, I think. The feature packs that came alongside efforts that were made to introduce Guild Wars 2 to the Chinese market. And how a bunch of time and effort went into that. And ended up culminating in a Chinese scene that's seems to be barely measurable. Wooden Potatoes told an anecdote about how there was an international PvP tournament, and the one Chinese team that showed up did not have enough competence to overcome the PvE monsters on the forest of Niflheim. Yeah, which is just hilarious, even to me, a non-PvPer. The scene was just not there. They weren't ready to field people. It wasn't a real effort. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. I guess what I have to come back to is what are my thoughts. I'm really glad I went down this journey, actually. I'm really glad I went down this journey reminding myself how we've dealt with all the other dragons. And actually, going down this journey has really encouraged me to go back and think about re-experiencing some of the previous stuff, especially the Heart of Thorns expansion and Path of Fire in Season 4. I think it'd be very interesting to play through again. In hindsight, it is incredibly impressive what they pulled off with Kralkatorrik, and how good a job they did making a villain out of Palawa Joko, in selling us on the gravity of taking down one of these threats that's been presented to us as something we should care about for years, and making us actually care. And given all that, given we know that better can be done, it's always sad when better is not available, which seems to be the case here. I think a case that's been made fairly by Wooden Potatoes about how ArenaNet could have handled this release is like, well, if there's not enough juice to squeeze a couple Elder Dragon kills out, why try? Why not reframe? Which seems to suggest that End of Dragons needs those two dragons to be dead in order to work. Which implies that we're going to go deal with the last dragon. The Elder Dragon of Water. Bubbles, Steve, whatever. And maybe we'll figure out what Mother is, according to Kralkatorrik. All in all, these Elder Dragons, they are one of the main things that texture the world of Tyria and Guild Wars 2. Even if you don't engage with the story content of the lore directly, you benefit from it. I benefit from it. And every single interaction in a game like Guild Wars is cheapened when we're told something is important and it ends up not feeling that way. It's important that Guild Wars 2 be able to tell Kralkatorrik level stories about dragons in the future. We know that they've done it. And we know they can do it again. But we also know from this release that Arena is willing to put out something that doesn't hit that bar if it gets in something that they need. I just hope it's worth the effort. I'll be playing End of Dragons. I'm too fascinated by this IP to let it lie. And I actually think that they'll do something pretty interesting with it. But one of the big questions out there is not just story related, but what are they going to do with their systems? Another conversation again. Okay. I wrote down some conclusions here. These are going to be some heavily speculative, educated guesses. Because I think one of the main things that the community wants to know is what the hell is going on with ArenaNet? And we live in a world, for better or worse, where for the most part, we don't get to know what goes on with the developers who make our games. There's a real firewall of communication between people who build games and people who consume them. And it kind of sucks. I don't blame the developers for this. There's a basic problem of incentives. And also, creative work needs some privacy in order to be developed. I respect the hell out of that. But there are basic questions like, how many people are working on Guild Wars 2 that I think would be really helpful to know. ArenaNet has shared that with us in the past. We have no idea. We've been shown that ArenaNet is willing to put Guild Wars 2 into a kind of steady state while things swim. Okay, that's not what I want to say. I'm not trying to dog on anyone. Let's back it up. I'm just going to talk it out. Use the power of our voice. The voice of Deeg. From all my interactions, both passively and actively with ArenaNet, one of the main takeaways I have is that they are, in some ways, fundamentally, they're a pretty creative place. And they have a real creator culture. At least parts of that company does. One of the big takeaways that came away from Bobby Stein's conversation with the narrative department is that they really nurture the creator in a big way. And I commented to him specifically that we don't hear stories about crunch at ArenaNet. I think that's valuable. And I'm not sure if a better game is worth crunch. Another reality that I think we see is that ArenaNet is fundamentally ambitious. Why would they try to make the anti-MMO if they weren't? Why would they try to build a living world that goes away if they weren't? These are big bets, big risks. And if it doesn't pay off, yeah, that's kind of sucks. But I think it's kind of cool they're willing to take risks. We see those risks take shape with things like new game modes, raids, strikes, Dragon response missions. Fimit, I haven't been out here before, but I just want to say I found this talk very interesting. Well, thank you. I'm glad you find it interesting. I'm kind of exercising my demons a little bit. I'm glad others are finding value in it. Guild Wars is recapturing me for reasons I can't entirely justify. And it's a franchise I've been with for a long time. So, the original vision of Living World, I think, was understood to have failed by 2014. When Living World Season 1 came to an end and Scarlet died and we paved a path forward from there. My surmise, and this is just a guess, but it might be a useful framework for thinking about the way things work at ArenaNet, is that at that point, in 2014, there was a decision to move to a different model that looked like Living World plus expansion. Season 2 expansion. I didn't realize it, but looking back, Season 2 only took like 6 months for all of it. It started in July and ended in January. And on the heels of it, Heart of Thorns was announced. And yeah, they weren't ready. They didn't know what a content drought was going to do. But I would not be at all surprised if development on Heart of Thorns happened while Season 2 is rolling. And I would be very surprised if they had much to announce in January if they had only just started working on it then. So, Living World plus expansion. What happens next? Heart of Thorn comes out. Now, after these two things land, I think there's another change that happened at ArenaNet. And I think that one of the most visible aspects of that change would be seeing game director at the time, Colin Johansson, transition away from the company, and seeing Mike O'Brien as the president actually step in to fill Colin's role. And here's a guess, and it's a wild guess, but I think at that time, a 3-year plan was hatched by ArenaNet to finish Guild Wars 2. And move on to whatever the next thing is. Think about how long it takes to make a game. Guild Wars 2 took 5 years of development. World of Warcraft took 5 years of development. Elder Scrolls Online took 7 years of development. Games take a long time to make. You better believe if Guild Wars 2, if ArenaNet was going to announce a new game in 2019, after the end of Season 4, that they would have been working on it for years leading up to that. So a 3-year plan to work on a new game post Guild Wars 2. And in the meantime, we have Living World, expansion, Living World. And we got what ended up being, if you're a story enthusiast, the golden era of Guild Wars 2. Where you had consistent releases for a span of what? Living World Season 3 started in July 2016, and Season 4 ended up in May 2019. 2 years of continuous episodic releases that told what seemed like a pretty far forecasted story about Aurene maturing to a point where she was ready to take on Kralkatorrik. And the amazing finale we got. I don't believe for a single second that the encounters we got with Kralkatorrik in Season 4, Episode 5 and Season 4, Episode 6 took only 3 months to make by one team. I don't believe that for a single second. But then something went wrong with the 3-year plan. 2.5 years in, February 2019, ArenaNet announces layoffs for over 140 employees. And it's announced that certain projects that these employees were working on have been shut down, closed down. And then we kill Kralkatorrik. Arena sends. We get that great cutscene. And then what the hell is next? No one knows. I already recounted my experience at the Moore Theater in August 2019. But I really believe in my heart of hearts that theater was not meant to announce a Guild Wars 2 product. It was meant for something else. A showcase for whatever was next. And the Icebrood expansion was a way to fill in the blanks when those employees were laid off and those projects were shuttered. And I think that was a real dark time for the company. My heart really goes out to everyone who was affected, including us, the community of gamers, including the developers who were and weren't working on it. Everyone fell victim in that process. I believe Wooden Potatoes described this as a deeply depressing time. And we're coming out of it. Icebrood Saga's over. ArenaNet got the chance to work on a new expansion. Why? I don't know. What's next? We don't know. Is the whole company working on Guild Wars 2? Almost certainly not. ArenaNet was picking up the pieces with the Icebird saga. And the End of Dragons seems to be their first real chance at a return to form. I think that's it. I think I've exorcised the demons. What do y'all think? Big Mac, Icebird Saga kind of feels like the end to a relationship you kind of want to end. I was also kind of hoping it didn't need to end. Yeah. The devil you know, right, Micmac? To be continued. Dun dun dun. It is. And honestly, I'm re-energized to play Guild Wars after this. There's something wrong with me. I played a disappointing story release, which has excited me to get back in and play. I think part of the reason it excited me is because it's got the community talking. There's a conversation happening. It's really cool because I keep mentioning Wooden Potatoes because he is the guy who is out there saying, don't accept this. This isn't good enough for us. Don't apologize for this. Don't justify this. And he's right. And I think it's brilliant that he's doing that. And Wooden Potatoes has, first off, WP, if you hear this, come talk to me on the podcast. We need to talk. Stop putting this off. But secondly, Wooden Potatoes has this quality of internalizing the broad spectrum of player interests and reflecting it back in a way that is just pretty incredible. He is the king of Guild Wars 2 on YouTube in the same way that Mighty Teapot is the king of Guild Wars 2 on Twitch. Shout out to Mighty Teapot too. The true hype train conductor. The actual hype train conductor. Kai, I guess if they shelve the chapter of the game, then they believe whatever's coming next will be worth it, right? So that's exciting. Yeah, I guess. I think so. I think another place to take this conversation would be, I mean, there's a reason why I talked through Eye of the North at the start of this. Because Eye of the North was a launching point for the next thing. And I think End of Dragons could be a launching point in the same way Eye of the North was a launching point. But what are we launching into? Is it Guild Wars 3? What would Guild Wars 3 do that Guild Wars 2 can't? I'm not sure what the answer to that question is. Certainly, it would give all the people who wrote off Guild Wars 2 in the first year, when PvP didn't materialize, when the living world was a mess, when endgame incentives were muddy, it would give them another swing of the bat in a way that no expansion could. But I mean, how many times is ArenaNet just going to try to get a redo on Guild Wars? Is it once burned, twice shy? I don't know, man. I think that in 2012, the MMO market was a different thing. And people were still trying to figure out what the next big MMO was going to be. But I think in 2021, I think MMOs are a lot of qualities of MMOs that they've tried to do well and people have looked to them for years and years are starting to show up in non-MMO type games. I wouldn't mind seeing something more Guild Wars 1-like. Migmac, Guild Wars 3, Ritlocks and Logan's Honeymoon Adventures, coming soon to Roblox server near you. Do you guys think Guild Wars 2 post Elder Dragons is an interesting place to be. Kai, you mean Guild Wars 2 or their franchise as a whole? Wait, sorry, what are you referring to? I've obviously talked past whatever you're responding to. What does post-Elder Dragon Guild Wars 2 look like? What are the problems we deal with? I think the Mersat is a solved problem. E-Dubs McCool, Guild Wars 2 was the only MMO you enjoyed, but you stopped before the expansions. What did you like about it, E-Dubs? And why did you stop? Kai, you meant with regards to redos in Guild Wars. Oh. I mean, like, the franchise as a whole. Like, Guild Wars 2 was basically a re-roll of Guild Wars 1. Like, hang on, Guild Wars 1 doesn't work. We can't keep this going. Let's make a new Guild Wars game. And if End of Dragons is a launching point, I kind of have a feeling that maybe that's what they're going through again. E-Dubs, but then you spent 90% of your time PvPing jump puzzles. I think a lot of people did that. Do I think the future of Arena is not Guild Wars then? I think the Guild Wars IP is still pretty ripe. But I would not be surprised to see them take on something more science fiction-y. And to be honest, like Guild Wars 2 is so broad and has so much weird metaphysical possibility that they could do something sci-fi based roughly in that universe. I don't know why they would link it, but they could. We know we've seen concept art of them doing sci-fi stuff. I know that at one point there was they were doing some mock-ups and proposals for doing a Dune-based game, the fantasy universe of Dune. There's some great videos on that out there by certain creators. Teapot, Wooden Potatoes. Migmac, it could be. Emphasis on could. We get the remaining gods, all the magic we got to deal with. Unless they're really going to go the Aurene sponge magic pants and she's the cure to balance. Yeah, I think we got to write Aurene out of the game if we're going to get to post Elder Dragon world. You know? It's kind of like the problem Marvel has with having what's her face? Captain Marvel? Is that her name? The blonde girl. I can't think of her name. But she needs to be written out of the story, otherwise she just solves all the problems. E-Dubs, the way the story progressed and was told as you leveled up your character was really well done, far better than WoW. You like that? Yeah, the personal story I think is pretty divisive in latter times. I think it's a neat idea, but let me think about this for a second. I think now there's a lot of focus on what the personal story didn't do, rather than what it did do in the public discourse. But you're right, it did do a lot of cool stuff. It did not give an actual way for you to learn how to play the game. Like, it lets you AFK through it if you wanted to. It did not help prepare you for any endgame activities at all. It didn't encourage you to cooperate at all. Actually, I shouldn't say at all. There were leveling dungeons. It was novel, E-Dubs. So those are all the complaints. But what did it do well? The personal story did some things well. It actually told a really cool global story of the races coming together to deal with a big global threat. I think that the complaints are about how low resolution some of the storytelling is. And how, if you take at it from a broad picture sense, it's impressive. If you look down at any individual story step, they tend to be, it seems like the trees suffer for the forest. You power game by default, so you didn't feel let down by it. Oh, word. For me, I loved the initial leveling up process in Guild Wars 2. I wish I could experience it again. I've actually dabbled with the idea of creating a new account just to have that experience. There's so much account-based progression in Guild Wars 2 that it's basically impossible to have alts in the way that that word traditionally means in an MMO sense. But when I played through the story, I was doing it alongside my wife. Actually, she's the reason that I played Guild Wars 2. I've told the story many times, but I wasn't planning to play it. I wasn't planning to ever play another MMO again. And she was not my wife was not a gamer, but she saw that game and she said, "Can I run that game on my laptop?" And we did, and that was that. 1 year down the tubes. A fantastic year, though. Kai, the future of the genre in general seems kind of shaky, so it's hard to imagine what a future game would look like. Yes. The future of MMOs is an interesting question that I think there's no clear answer to. And I think that the market for MMOs is an increasingly sophisticated market that gobbles up games and spits them out. And I'm really worried for games like New World and Ashes of Creation, even games like Star Citizen, because I don't know if they do enough new shit. By the way, if New World comes out at the same time as End of Dragons, I'm going to be so pissed. Actually, I bet you Arena won't do that. They know not to release side by side, right? I bet you they won't get burned by that. Am I still interested in New World? Yeah. I'd say that my interest has cooled a bit, Kai. But I'm still warm enough on it, I think. I think I'm interested in it in the same way I was interested in like World of Warcraft. Like I kind of want to see what it's doing. I want to learn about it. I want to visit it. But I don't know if I'll ever find a new permanent home where MMOs are concerned. I kind of doubt it, actually. I'm open to it though. It's just like I have a problem where I've narrowed down the time I allow myself to spend time playing games to just a few hours a week. And it's kind of hard to develop a new habit with that much time, especially when the habits I already have are so interesting. You guys have been seeing me play and talk about PlanetSide 2 a lot lately. I'm not done with that. Like, I'm not done with that at all. On Wednesday, I'm going to be streaming the new campaign when it comes out, and on Thursday, I'm going to be interviewing Shockter live on stream. PlanetSide is still pumping hard for me. Now I'm picking up Guild Wars, and that's two things. Two competing interests. And the Guild Wars 2 community, I love because they're big, but they're also kind of small. It's not like WoW. It's not like WoW where you have to have a voice tens of thousands strong in order to mean anything. You get that like interest in terms of being an important game in the genre. Yeah, I think I've lost confidence that New World will be a meaningful iteration on the MMOs. I think that they might occupy a stable niche and perhaps a profitable one. If they can really deliver on enjoyable PvE content, and if they can make their combat system fun to play in both groups and solo and PvP, then they can do something really cool. I think just the fact that it's like a Souls-like combat system, sorry, I should say Souls-light, makes it sufficiently interesting and different from most MMOs for people to give it a try. But it's kind of incumbent upon it then to make sure it doesn't fuck up other things that MMOs already do well. And it's also for them to find other things to iterate on. And from playing it last year, it doesn't seem like they're iterating on quest designs. It doesn't seem like they're iterating on group PvE content. PvP is a place for iteration, although the original vision for New World was very PvP focused, and that's been chopped to bits. Although I heard a cool announcement recently that apparently they're re-adding open world PvP for, is it settlements or is it forts? Maybe it's forts. I don't know. So meaningful open world PvP that isn't just ganking would be cool. Kai, it seems like a lot of fans of the genre are kind of looking at it as a reflection of the market in general. Well, yeah, that's like, look who's making it. It's Amazon. Look what else Amazon has tried. They tried to do something that competes with Overwatch, making Crucible. They tried to do something that competes with Dota, but it didn't get off the ground. They tried to do some kind of a like they have a bunch of projects that they've spun up that were meant to essentially copy other successes. What Amazon's trying to do is to perfect something that others have tried and failed at. And if it's a problem that can be solved with money, they have a chance at it. I just don't know if there's enough profit and cultural cachet out there remaining in the MMO genre. I think it's still possible that it gets canceled outright, to be honest. Not likely, but possible. E-dubs, that's the thing. So many aspects of it have to be fun. And most such a time sink, it has to feel worth it. If it just feels like everything else, well, you've already done that right. So, you know, there's the saying of you can't just make a new World of Warcraft anymore. World of Warcraft came at a pivotal time. They were a product that made available to people who they opened up a genre to a group of people who were just starting to get on the internet for the first time. And they modernized something that was good, but not as accessible as it could be. And over time, they just kept doing that. Modern retail World of Warcraft is an incredible game for as much shit as it gets. It's just so good that people forget what's good about it. Well, this exploration has gone far longer than I expected it would. But I'm putting my foot in the ground. We're going to do more Guild Wars stuff. My fire's been relit. But we're going to wrap this up for tonight. Because I got to get some sleep. But for those of y'all who are just getting to know me, welcome. I'm Deeg. I talk about stuff a lot. On Thursday, I'm having a live podcast interview that I'm doing here on the stream. It'll be with a PlanetSide creator named Shockter, and it's something that I like to do. I've interviewed people in the past from the Guild Wars community as well. I've interviewed Mighty Teapot. I've interviewed Bobby Stein. I've interviewed a bunch of other streamers and people in the area, and I'm going to have some more coming up soon, I think. This Monday show is something I do every week. I show up and we talk about something. Either something that's been on my mind, or I open up the calls for people who want to call in and suggest topics that we talk through. All these shows end up on YouTube after the fact. So if you miss any part of it, or you want to review it in a way that's a little more coherently presented, I chapter things out. I cut out dead time, stuff like that. You can find that there. And the best way to get in touch with me, if you want to, would probably be my Discord. Does that link actually work? It looks old. It works. Okay. And what else? I have a Twitter. And I am active there. If you want to drop by and say hey, please feel free to do so. Anyway, Philipsville, who stuck with it, thank you. This was not... I try to be concise in my thoughts wherever I can, and clearly when it comes to this, I could not be. But I hope some of y'all have enjoyed this journey and found some usefulness from it. Right now, we're going to just let it all out. Kai, I love you, brother. Is there anyone I know who's streaming? Nobody I know. Okay, I guess there's someone who I kind of know. Yeah. I'm going to send y'all the subject Pang. Dude's a gamer. He's got a piano. He'll play it if you ask him. So give him a shout. And have a great night, day. Get out there. Play some games. Think about it. Talk about it. And let's just all come together. And have some fun. My brain no longer works. So I bid you adieu. Brain dead like the dragon. True. Peace.